While people are trying to tell me that crypto is boring, it's not sexy, it's not fun, and they're not interested in it anymore, it makes me even more excited. Because when you understand companies like Ripple and their focus on digital assets like XRP and the real world adoption that we're about to see, with XRP being at the center of it all as the settlement and bridge currency, you understand the blessing in front of us with these bottom of the bear market prices, allowing us to accumulate these assets before the 2026 XRP led rally takes place. And so let's get right on into the update. I appreciate you guys for stopping by. We have to get back the attention, we have to get back the liquidity. Right now, it's not there. And where has some of it gone? Well, it's gone to many different places. It's been in stocks and the AI plays, even precious metals. Tom Lee said that precious metals have kind of sucked the wind, knocked the wind out of the sales of the crypto space and, sucked the air out of the room, I think is the words that he used. We've also seen prediction markets. But what you have to understand is that all of these other asset classes are coming on chain. So yeah, we're losing some liquidity to prediction markets. And I think this is something that actually was, a big part of why we fell short in 2025 is you had people that instead of investing in crypto, took that money to sports betting, took that money to prediction markets. And I'm not just saying this, the data's in front of us with Canary Capital breaking it down. Liquidity didn't disappear, it rotated. Crypto exchange volumes, broad-based decline since 2025. Retail participation largely exited. Small cap tokens with 90% drawdowns. And the capital rotation went to ETFs, equities, precious metals, and now prediction markets. Crypto in 2026 isn't next. It's smaller, more institutional, and far more selective. This isn't a pause, it's a structural shift. And it's something that I'm going to be taking advantage of. Once again, when something's boring, when it's not attractive or sexy, this is usually the best times to buy that asset. We saw the example with silver. But you're looking at cryptocurrency exchange volume on a monthly basis, it was over $4 trillion in May of 2021, which was basically the top of the 2021 bull run and alt season in particular, right? Bitcoin topped out in November of 2021, but XRP topped out in April. And then again, if you look later in this chart, January 2025, that's when we got that volume back approaching 3 trillion in the month of January. That was the top of the bull market last year, for most coins. XRP did go top out again in July. Bitcoin did top out in October. But for the broader market as a whole, it topped out during those moments, April, May 2021, and January of 2025. That was it. But the good news is that we're at the bottom. And we've seen it right here. Take a look at this chart. Polymarket and Kalshi volume up at about 9 billion. Now, this is far below the 3 and 4 trillion monthly volume that we saw in the crypto market. So prediction market, we can't use that as the only excuse. But I'm just showing you where the attention is at and the fact that it's going to be coming back around to crypto. But you don't want to be with the rest of retail buying the top. That was buying the top of XRP when it was above $3 in January of 2025, buying the top of Stellar when it was above 50 cents in January of 2025, buying the top on HBAR and all the best performers. All the best performers are going to come back and they're going to lead again later in 2026. But you want to take advantage of those opportunities now, And so we're watching here and right on into the XRP update here. OSL becomes first Hong Kong exchange to list Ripple's ROUSD, one-to-one backed US dollar stablecoin designed for institutional grade compliance and transparency. So we have another exchange, more liquidity for ROUSD. Why does that relate to XRP? Because ROUSD is on the XRP ledger. You need an XRP wallet to use it. You're going to burn XRP every transaction that you're sending it. And ultimately, ROUSD allows liquidity that would otherwise not even have to touch blockchain digital asset rails at all. You're bringing that liquidity on chain. ROUSD is so critical to funneling that liquidity back to the XRP ledger. Without ROUSD, XRP ledger would be in trouble. I would have a very different outlook if we didn't have ROUSD and we weren't seeing the type of growth for ROUSD that we're observing right now. Remember, ROUSD just went live on Binance, and it went live first on the Ethereum network. right? RLUSD is minted on Ethereum and it's minted on the XRP ledger. But most big exchanges like Binance don't even have layer 2 tokens on the XRP ledger listed. So they said, first we're going to launch on ETH and then we're going to bring it live on XRP ledger. But they got to, basically fill in the back end for bringing on layer 2 tokens on the XRP ledger. But that opens the door not just for RLUSD, but every other token on the XRP ledger. And so as more real-world assets get tokenized on the XRP ledger, we want them to be available, not just on the XRP ledger DEX, which is great, but also available and traded on the centralized exchanges. That's the big unlock. And we're only going to see more demand drive to RLUSD as more platforms are bringing yield to RLUSD as well. Doppler Finance RLUSD Vault yield generation is now live with Doppler Point Season 2. Users can now deposit RLUSD, a dollar peg stablecoin introduced by Ripple, to earn yield in Doppler points. Stop holding, start earning. And this is the same Doppler that has been generating yield on XRP as well. They're paying out the distributions weekly, and it's on an adjustable percentage rate, annualized percentage rate that's been floating about 3%. So you're not earning 3% per week. You're earning about 3 to 4% on the year, and the distributions are being paid out weekly. But now they're unlocking for RLUSD. And I also wanted to let everybody know, I Trust Capital, we just partnered up with them. They're already allowing you to stake Solana and Ethereum in your retirement funds, your IRA that they have over there. You can stake your Solana and Ethereum, and they are going to be rolling out ways to get yield rewards or returns on XRP, and RLUSD is coming in about the next month or so, is what I'm being told from their team. So linked up down below is I Trust Capital. When you use my link, you'll get that $100 funding bonus. But I also wanted to throw in there that they're looking on bringing yield for RLUSD here in the next month or so, and then XRP yield later this year. And they're partnering up with Ripple on that matter. Use my link down below to get the $100 funding bonus. Soil's XRP Ledger Vaults open tomorrow. Here's how you can deploy your capital. Liquid Vault, 5% annualized percentage rate. Max liquidity, T-bills, and money market funds is what's backing that. The Yield Vault at 7%, market neutral strategies. And the Credit Vault at 8% APR, private credit backed. Now, not an endorsement at all. At all. Let's be very clear about that. But this is to show you how many people are working on yield, returns, ways to generate money for just holding our assets, participating in liquidity, participating in private credit. They got backing of T-bills and money market funds. You have to understand where the yield and returns are coming from, though. Market neutral strategies, as we've seen in the past year, market neutral strategies, not a great place to be because our crypto market is bled out. So what's so important, and I'm not saying to throw your XRP blindly at any of these, right? But what I'm saying is to observe how many builders and developers, how many centralized big platforms are coming to give you options for generating returns, for ways to use your RLUSD, your XRP, without ever having to spend it. Right? That's the point that I want you guys to take home. Now, I'm also very excited. We're going to have full coverage this week of the XRP Community Days that Ripple is hosting, and that's going to be coming up on, I believe, the 11th and the 12th. So stay tuned for that. But I wanted to show you guys this. This is massive. On February 11th, we have David Bachiri and Fabio Marzella from XRPL Commons and Zhao DAO, which is the new DAO for the XRP ledger. But this will be taking place at February 11th at 1:30 p.m. Eastern with the new executive director at the XRP Ledger Foundation. See, Ripple doesn't control the XRP ledger despite what some of the fudsters and haters and naysayers and lie spreaders of XRP try to say. Ripple only runs one validator. But we've had kind of a shortcoming from the XRP Ledger Foundation. I haven't been very impressed with them, just to be honest with you guys. And nobody has. Nobody has. And there's kind of been a new revamp process, and it looks like in this community day, we're going to get to see who the new executive director of the XRP Ledger Foundation is. And I'm very excited to see just kind of the initiatives what kind of programs for developers, and just we need somebody to take this thing, and take charge of it to grow out our ecosystem. We know that Ripple's focused on banks and institutions. We're going to talk about that next. But we also need an XRP Ledger Foundation that's helping connect our builders with capitalists and venture capital investors. Right? We want to fund projects that are building on top of the XRP Ledger. I want to use my platform to shine the light down on the builders and developers in our ecosystem. I've always said that. You have a free spot on my show. You don't got to cut me a check. If you're building utility on the XRP Ledger, book a time slot, get on my show, and we'll get eyeballs on your platform. But what happens next here is all of the tools, all of the amendments that are getting passed for the XRP Ledger and the programmability that's being built out allows us to have a thriving ecosystem where Ripple's getting banks and institutions on board, and the XRP Ledger Foundation can spearhead the effort for our retail developers, small-time builders, who can have a big impact collectively. So I'm very excited about this. We're going to have full coverage of both of those days. But Brad Gallinghouse right here retweeting Mr. Man XRP, and he says, glad to see that the message is finally even more clear. XRP family has and always will be top of mind for Ripple. Ripple's not going to abandon us. I've been seeing a bunch of comments coming in. Oh, hope we haven't been bamboozled. No, you have not. Okay. This is just normal market fluctuations. This is liquidity rotation, as I explained at the very beginning. Crypto hasn't been hot. We've been bleeding out. Does it mean that Ripple's left XRP? No. The fact that ROUSD has been created, is Ripple leaving XRP? No. ROUSD lives on the XRP ledger. And they're only issuing it on Ethereum so that they can bridge that liquidity back over to the XRP ledger. XRP is the heartbeat of Ripple. It always has been, always will be. Mr. Man says, and some of you thought that Ripple wasn't true to their word as XRP as a bridge asset. The vision has not changed. The direction remains aligned. We have a CoinDesk article, and I got a note here that it's great to see more positive coverage coming from the mainstream crypto sources like CoinDesk. Because for the past 7 years that I've been in XRP, it's been nothing but negativity for the most part until XRP gets hot, and then CoinDesk starts to cover it, and then Cointelegraph starts to cover it, and then BitBoy Crypto calls himself the supreme leader of the XRP army. Sorry, I hate to bring BitBoy into this, but it's a good example, right? It's boring, it's not sexy, it's untouched, it's not covered, it's hated, a lot of negativity and FUD until it's time to get back on board. And they can't ignore it anymore, which is why they're coming out with articles like this. I wanted to read this off to you guys. Ripple outlines institutional DeFi blueprint for XRP Ledger with compliance-focused infrastructure positioning XRP as settlement and the bridge asset. Let's go to the full article. XRP at the center of it. Ripple and XRP Ledger developers say recent mainnet upgrades and upcoming feature positions the XRP Ledger as a hub for regulated real-world finance. Here's what you need to know. I'm just going to read you off the bullet points here. We got that. It's compliance-focused infrastructure with XRP's role as a settlement and bridge asset confirmed. New and upcoming features including permission domains, that's passed, credentials passed, privacy preserving transfers, and XLS 65 and 66 lending protocol are designed to meet regulatory and risk management requirements for on-chain credit and payments. That lending protocol is coming here soon. An EVM sidechain bridge by Axelar aims to attract Solidity developers by offering familiar tooling while tapping XRP Ledger's liquidity identity features and XRP's utility in collateral reserves and fee-driven burn mechanics. Every transaction for ROUSD or any other token on the XRP Ledger is going to burn XRP, and XRP is selected for the auto-bridging feature to source liquidity. Ripple and XRP Ledger contributors have outlined a growing set of institutional DeFi building blocks on the XRP Ledger that aim to make the network viable for regulated financial activity, per a Thursday blog. XRP's utility as a settlement and bridge asset is being highlighted as central to that infrastructure, with use cases ranging from Forex and stablecoin rails to tokenized collateral and native lending markets, all coming back to XRP. That's the point that you need to understand. And this is why you got a glimpse at what comes next here in 2026. Just look at the best performing assets after the Trump election victory in November 2024. XRP pumped 500%. HBAR pumped 800%. Stellar pumped 600%. These are going to be the best performing assets once again. This is it. We're at the bottom of the bear market. We probably go set a new low, or we double top the bottom that we already hit last week. XRP is perfectly positioned. XRP is not being replaced. Ripple is not focused on anything besides building out the infrastructure that all drives value back to XRP at the heartbeat of their company. How does Ripple become a $1 trillion company? XRP, and driving value back to XRP. And so make no mistake about it, XRP will lead the 2026 rally that is coming, and the next bull run will be led by XRP and other digital assets that are focused on utility and compliance-first infrastructure that allows banks and institutions that are getting finally unlocked through the Clarity Act the ability to build and go live, move liquidity and tokenize on these ledgers. So pick your fighter and pick them wisely. Get those orders set and prepare for the rally that comes later this year. If you guys appreciate what we're doing here on a daily basis, please help us out by liking this content, sharing it out far and wide, and you know where all of our community resources are at. Thank you, and God bless you all. I am your host, Zach Rector. I really appreciate all of the love and support. If you want to support the channel, just remember that you can start by smashing that thumbs up for me, sharing this content far and wide, and everything else is at my website.